Well, good morning everybody. This is the English guy in Mexico. It is the 27th of March 2016. It is midday and the temperatures are 28 centigrade, which is 86 Fahrenheit. The trees are in full bloom now. That's a durazno, a peach tree. The shade cloth, if anybody wants to watch my video 80 meters of shade cloth, I've got shade cloth up now because I need to keep the sun off the ground while I'm planting. If you notice here, I've got 4 small rows of a mixture of beans, oats and some sorghum Sudan grass, and I've now started, now that I know that the beds are working under this shade cloth, I've actually started planting the middles of them with a wider strip. So basically I was using the middles as walkways, and I've thought, no, I can work all these from the sides. I'm filling in the middle because I know it's working, so I planted this one yesterday, and there's another 6 or 7 rows of stuff coming up there over by the straw bale garden. So the shade is working. I'm getting a little bit of water to this area now, and stuff is starting to grow. But again, if you look outside of the shade cloth, look at the ground out here. In this heat, everything struggles. And as I've explained before in some of my videos, my soil here is a white alkaline type soil that nothing seems to want to grow in. So today what I'm going to do is a little experiment. I've got a video up about the Hugelkultur area, and what I noticed yesterday when I was walking in here is that some of these buried logs that I've used as the actual walkway, despite me putting no water in here, are actually breaking down. So if you look here, I've just had a quick ferret around here, and you'll notice that if I bend down, the wood is actually breaking up, it's breaking off. But be careful, because sometimes stuff starts coming out and biting you. Look, all of this is now disintegrating, and it's breaking down and giving me a little bit of biomass. It's not dramatic, but there's obviously wood in here. Oh, made me jump. And there's bits breaking off. So what I've done today is I've started another food trench, and what I'm going to do is I've been out to some of my land, and I do everything here on my own, which is sometimes a bit of a struggle when you're doing things which are pretty heavy. And I've gone out, I've got this little lift, dolly I think you call them, and I've gone and I've started collecting wood. I've got about 10 acres here, and I noticed this tree stump just laying on the ground. It won't break down in this kind of climate because there's no moisture. So what I've done is I've excavated a trench down to this white clay, sorry, not clay, but the white calcite type clay. It's calcite, calcium carbonate. It's like a white, if anybody can tell me exactly, there's no structure at all in it. It's basically just a very white, fine dust. I'm up on the Mexican plateau here, and there's just nothing in it. This is out of the bottom of that trench. So what I do is I use these just to raise up the walkways slightly, and I can put my water buckets on them where I collect my water off the roof. But the problem is I haven't got any other type of soil. I could go out and I could try to buy buckets and bags of soil, but I'm trying to sort of do everything myself, and I've figured, well, if I can break this wood down, I get the wood in the bottom of this trench, so I'm going to measure the height of that wood, and I want to see the progress, so I'm going to not bury it completely. I'm going to sort of 3/4 bury it, so I'm getting at least 3/4 of the actual surface of the wood below the soil, but keep the top up slightly so I can watch the progress. Then I'm going to plant crops down the side of that tree stump. So I think I've got the width about right. I'll check it in a minute with I'm going to call this part 1. I've dug what little bit of topsoil out and put that to the side, and then I'm going to sort of pack that back down the edges of that tree stump. So I'm going to call this part 1 of Mini-Hugelkultur. I've got to get some substance back in this soil. As I've said earlier, the shade cloth is working. I'm not sure if these crops that I've planted out in the sun are going to survive. I've planted another trench here. Again, same thing, I've took out a little bit of topsoil, I've got rid of all the rubbish soil in the bottom of the trench, and I've just seeded this with calabasas, oats, beans. I tend to do a lot of mixing of things because I'm trying to do what they call companion planting. Some of them I want as tall crops, and some of them as sort of crops that can climb then up. For instance, if you put in sorghum Sudan grass, it grows to about 3 meters, or that's what they say, 2 to 3 meters, but my beans can then climb up it. Then to keep the soil moist, if I use calabasa, the leaves on the calabasa are massive here, and they do seem to grow okay out in the heat. I've got a volunteer calabasa just coming up here now. Just to explain exactly what they are, the little yellow flowers on them, and the leaves get extremely big. I didn't plant this is obviously just some seeds that I was sort of tossing around last year. It didn't come up, and then this one's come up this year. Now we've had a tiny bit of rain in this patch, so I do a lot of what you call companion planting. Once those leaves get 3 or 4 times bigger than that, they really do shelter the soil. So it's a mixture of tall crops, climbing crops like peas and beans, and then shade type crops with like the calabasa. So that's what I do a lot of. So my new idea for today is to go and try and bury that huge tree stump, and I've had a quick look round on the land. I've probably got another 6 or 7 stumps I can use. They've fallen over during the last 50 years that I know this place was put together, so they've just been laying on the ground. So they're very, very old wood that I'm going to rot down slightly subsurface. So this is part 1. The next part will be called part 2. Bye for now.